What do you think that makes the difference for a woman that lives in domestic violence to leave that relationship or to stay? What do you think are the norms that she feels attached to? And what do you think are the challenges that she faces? Today, we are going to bring an expert in exactly this topic. Stay with us because it's going to be a wonderful conversation about resilience in Hispanic women. Today, I have this interview with Dr. Maritza Mikolich. Dr. Maritza has 13 years working with families, with couples, with individuals in psychotherapy. And she has a doctoral degree from the Alliance International University, also a master's degree from the St. Thomas University. Dr. Maritza is bilingual, of course. She works with the EMDR if you want to work on your trauma, and of course, so many other tools, not only EMDR. She can help you with that. She is very passionate about working with the Hispanic population. She likes to help people to reach the life that they can enjoy and engage in healthy relationships. Her approach is to be collaborative, compassionate, and empathic so she can help you to build your inner strengths, find solutions, and heal those past wounds that are holding you back. Find Dr. Maritza in her website, drmilcollege.com. Don't worry, we are going to write it for you on the notes. So you have everything you need to pay attention and you can work on the notes later. If you are listening to this podcast, thank you. Thank you for listening, for bringing us with you and make your life better. Hopefully, let us know if this is true. And if you are in video, thank you. Thank you for being here. Also remember, we have this course on anxiety. So you can go to emotionsinharmony.org/challenge and you will find the course on anxiety for 10 days that I put my best for you to overcome anxiety or to manage better your anxiety. Okay? Let's start with this conversation. Hey, I'm happy to be back here with you. Dr. Maritza Mikolich is telling me jokes before we start. So we are laughing here behind the scenes. I am so happy that you are here with us. And you know what? If you want to listen to this episode in Spanish, just go to the YouTube Armonía Emocional. And there it is. Today's conversation is all about her dissertation. I love when people talk about their dissertation because they spend at least 2 years in the topic. So 2 years coming into 20 minutes is kind of injustice. Yeah, doctora. But we are going to do our best for you to get the best of this topic. So tell us about the study that you did for your dissertation.
So I studied Hispanic women in the U.S., in California, who had immigrated from Mexico or who had roots of being of Mexican descent. They identified themselves as Catholic and they were divorced or in the process of divorce within that first year. So when I studied them in a time that was really, really hard and stressful for them.
The first year after the divorce. Mm-hmm. Wow. And how many women?
There were 8 women I studied that I ended up keeping as my research study. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And tell us, what are some of the norms that you look when you were studying resilience in these Hispanic women?
So I looked at the female norms, I looked at the family norms, and the religious norms in the Hispanic cultures. So when we talk about female norms, I looked at the roles that women played in these cultures, in these traditions. And, it's known that these women play a more submissive role, compliant role. They tend to sacrifice for others. And, that's one of the things that I looked at because these women avoid confrontation typically, right? And so they try to keep the family together. And they're always looking at others. Taking care of others is very important in the culture, and even before taking care of themselves. So that's one other thing I looked at. In addition to, going against some of their norms of, not keeping things in the family. So, like secrets, right? Secrets are usually encouraged, and you deal with problems within the family in the Hispanic culture. And the other one with religion, looking at like marriage and divorce and those components in terms of like what it means to them in a religion, right? In that context.
Hmm. What do you think? Oh, not what do you think right now, but what do you found out about their strengths, their characteristics that made them to do this big step?
Well, there were a lot of things. I mean, one of the biggest things I noticed is that they ended up embracing the change. That means accepting that this was their current situation, their current lived experience, and they had to learn to adapt. And they had to learn to come up with a meaning for them. They had to make sense of their situation. And it was a positive one for these women that got out of the marriage. These were the women that left the relationship because they were abusive relationships.
So that was the common in the women that they were abusive. They were
Mm-hmm.
being abused.
Mm-hmm. They had been abused, that's right. They had
Mm-hmm.
been abused, they had been in a conflict situation in the relationship and continued that thereafter, being that they were still co parenting and they had children in common. So they had to still deal with the ex. But the big other strength was that, they were still wanting to do this for their kids. They didn't want their kids to see this in the family. They didn't want them to know this type of abuse or normalize it. So they themselves had to develop internal strengths as well, and saying that I can do this, right? I can leave, and this is the reason why, and I have a goal, right? They had something to look forward to. And I think the other thing is, this experience, they took it as like an opportunity for growth, kind of like learning from it and saying, you know what, I'm going through this, but this will make me a better person. This will make me stronger.
Hmm. So they have the sense of even though it's painful, I am working for a better life. Yeah, the promise of a better life in the future.
And it was for me and for my kids. That was the thing I always noticed.
Mm-hmm.
These women also maintained their faith in God. They maintained their faith through prayer, through actions, asking for help, right? That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. Um, what do you think that set apart? You already said about the inner strength and the prayer and whatever, but what do you think about set apart to us in the United States to people in other countries who are in similar situation?
I know in the United States there's a lot of resources available. There's a lot of community support. There's a lot of housing, right? And there's also free legal support in the United States, where in Mexico that might not be the case, or, in Latin America, Central America, that might not be the case. But the good thing I found here in my study was that these women actually turn to family. Family
Okay.
they value, that's part of the culture. You just value the family. So they looked at siblings, they asked for help, financial help, housing help, from their parents. And so turning to family, and they turn to church, the ones that were connected to their church as well, for help.
So is this communication or this agreement between inner, I want to do it, strength, and also the community wants me to want to support me. Yeah.
Yep, yep. I noticed that there was family resiliency, right? Community resiliency, the spiritual, religious resiliency, and then, yeah, just the community, right? Something greater, something more outside of them.
As I'm talking to you, it's coming through my mind all of these years that I have been working with the victim witness. I don't know if you work ever with the victim witness program in California. They authorize 40 sessions. So I have the beauty and freedom to work for 40 sessions when somebody is victim of a crime. And I can tell you that's a year of therapy. Yeah. And I can tell
Yeah,
you
40.
that is the very first year is very difficult. They really need sometimes more than even those 40 sessions.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's a tough time to, deal with your emotions. Not only that, but deal with, your children. And there's layers and layers you have to deal with when it comes to like legal stuff, right? Situations, and just the whole process is very, very hard.
Mm-hmm. What, as a clinician, what do you um, learn, or what do you what you could share with us that motivates you to keep working with this population?
What motivates me to work with this population is that I know Hispanic women are fighters. It's almost in their blood. And so sometimes what I've noticed is that the women that struggle and have a hard time leaving relationships that are toxic, or even situations that are toxic, whether it's work, right? Situations or other situations, it's because they're having this internal battle within themselves and those belief systems they grew up with. And what I've noticed is that they can still cultivate those beliefs. They don't have to abandon those beliefs. We can help shift those beliefs and create some positive meaning, and keep those traditions and keep some of that sense of family value and that they want. So they don't have to abandon. They just have to create a new family system sometimes, or resort to other family members for help, so that we can help them reduce that shame, reduce that guilt, and better manage those emotions.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I really appreciate that you focus on these women, because this is a huge resource in the field of psychology. Yeah. That we need to amplify these voices. We need to create this ecosystem where they can survive and thrive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have been reading something called the sick woman theory. Did you ever hear about that? The sick women theory?
No, I'll
No.
have to look into that.
I just found it this week because one
Okay.
of my fellow members in the women's group, we have a bold women's group, brought it to me. And the sick woman theory is a woman who has past trauma and physical illness and all of this, and is analyzing in the context of how culturally sometimes we are not prepared to offer help. Yeah, we are not prepared to understand what they are going through, and that was 5 years ago. Now can imagine with COVID. Yeah.
Mm.
So I am going also to leave the link to our listeners of the sick women theory. If you want to see the video or read the transcript, is really interesting point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And your work, Dr. Maritza, is inspiring us to keep being on the side of the fighters. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because we only can do something when they come to us.
Right, right. We can definitely open that door for them and help them, teach them something different and let them know that it's okay. It's okay to do something that's healthy. It's okay to stand up for yourself and say no. It's okay to have boundaries, right? Something that, they may not know.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you want to say?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today as a guest. Yeah.
And tell us about your private practice.
Yeah, my private practice. So I started my private practice in the pandemic, given that I had a lot of Hispanic individuals reach out to me from just, people I know and just looking for help from family members and really not knowing what to do. And that inspired me to start my own practice. So I work virtually right now, telehealth, video and telephone, with the Hispanic population and other populations as well, just doing individual, families, and couples therapy. So you can always find me online, and I'm here to help. If you need any sort of navigation through life, navigating depression, anxiety. I know in this pandemic it's been very difficult for people, and relational help as well. So that's kind of my focus.
Okay, so we will put the link and everything for them to find you. Yeah.
Perfect.
And I really appreciate that you are here with us today. Hopefully, you bring some other topics to our big mission that is bringing resilience here.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Bye for now.